Very excited to talk to our next guest. We talked to him plenty when he was down here in South Florida. Big championship fight coming up this weekend. UFC 258, buy it on pay-per-view. Kamaru Usman taking on Gilbert Burns. The champ himself is kind enough to join us here. You left us, Kamaru. You went to Colorado, man.
I know.
You had to go
I came from Colorado though.
Fair enough. But like, what is it? It looks miserable training up there. You look like you're cold. It's high altitude. Do you enjoy the Rocky IV atmosphere getting ready for this fight?
No, and that's the crazy thing is first of all, Denver's a beautiful city. Very beautiful city when it's normal. So when you can go out and do things, it's an amazing city. The downtown is amazing, all the restaurants and people love to walk everywhere. And you know, it kind of reminds me of, it's kind of almost like a little bit of South Beach in a sense, but except it's not as hot, not as humid, not as warm. It's cold. You got a lot of clothes on, and you ain't outside. And so it's been kind of a transition trying to get used to it again. But you know, that's what I do best is being able to adapt and go out there and really achieve what I set out to do.
For getting ready for this fight, did it help? Because you guys were supposed to fight last summer, and everybody made the big thing about the awkwardness of you guys were teammates and all that stuff. Does it help the fact that you did get the break, even though you had to take a crazy fight in the midst of it and take, Jorge Masvidal on 7 days notice, but the whole awkwardness of, hey, we're going to separate camps, we're going to be away for a while. Does it help the fact for this matchup in particular that, hey, maybe more time was put between the matchup?
Yeah, definitely. And that fight, that last one was awkward because it was so fast and awkward to the point where I helped him prepare for his last fight. And then all of a sudden I'm watching on television. He's like, oh, I want to fight the champ. I'm like, whoa, bro. Chill. What? So yeah, that was awkward for me. But now having it was a little tougher because now, boom, right away I had to, get to Colorado. And it's different when you go to a new team, you got a new coach and you have to learn the process with him. You have to learn how he works and he has to learn how you work and how to push you and how not to push you. And so now having adequate amount of time in between, it's a lot better because now he gets to actually know that, okay, we can do this, we can do that, and we can, pull back on this and pull back on that. So, yeah, I think it has been helpful having that extra amount of time in between.
I saw I was watching Anatomy of a Fighter, and it was like a clip of you kind of gassing yourself up a little bit, talking about the things you've gone through, the demons. Is that true that like you heard there was chatter from the coaches there that they were saying, "Oh, you can get him, you can get him"? Like, is that like was there a sense of betrayal there? Like, is that because that seemed like that like you seemed genuinely upset about this? That this crew, this very close crew you had in South Florida, kind of went this way of division and going towards another guy.
Well, it's not. I wouldn't say I'm upset about it. I would say that's the one thing about me is just because I'm not the boisterous, the loudest guy out there, the most brash guy, to where people sometimes they take that as a weakness. They take that for granted. They don't realize that I'm very calculated. I see everything. I see it all, and I compute everything. I'm very calculated with what I do, and so I didn't put it past them, but they have to do that. That's their guy now. That's their guy, so they have to. It's basically exactly what I said. I'm Booby Miles in this situation. Booby Miles is hurt. Booby Miles steps out. They got to talk up the JV guy. They got to talk up the backup. Yo, hey, you could do this. You can get it. You can get him. They got to do that. So that's what they've been doing, and I know it. I know it. They've been doing that. But guess what? At the end of the day, you got to step in there with me. You got to see me. They can't fight for you. Nobody can fight for you. It's just you and me. It's your heart and it's your will stronger than mine. And they know that that's not something they know. So they have to, there's a reason they have to talk them up because they know we're kind of different. That I'm a different savage. I'm a different monster. I'm unlike anything he's ever seen or faced before. And, we have to get in there and I have to prove that to him.
Now, one of the things that it's just been brought to my attention because you fight in a lot of different arenas, but where you're fighting at the headquarters, the ring is smaller. How much does that play into what you do. It probably, maybe, as Brenda was telling me, it probably help you out because you're more of a wrestler and you want to get hands on. Whereas if you're a striker, you want more distance so you can move.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's not something that I really dwell on. It doesn't, it's not going to make me that much of a difference because when we get in there, you hit me in the face, hey, it's on. So, it doesn't matter whether it's a big cage or a small cage. You hit me, I'm hitting you harder. Right. And so that's what it's going to come down to. It's just going to come down to who's able to really go out there and impose their will. And that's something that I do very, very well. So, whether it's big, whether it's small, at some point we're going to hit each other. And we have to be able to deal with that.
You're coming up almost on 2 years as champ, Kamaru, but you reign over a division where it feels like you've cleared everybody out. If I assume you believe you're going to get through this Saturday, and you're a heavy favorite in this one. But how do you, I guess, see? Do you start thinking about legacy and stuff like that?
No, actually, that's not something that I look at. I remember when I was 1-1, and I had just lost my second professional fight. And I was living with Rashad Evans at the time down there in Boca. And Rashad, I had and I basically I looked at it coming off my second professional fight, and I lost. I for the first time I said, you know what, let me get online, let me look at Rashad Evans' record. And I look at his record. And at one point I think he started his career at maybe 10-0. And I just seen all these green, all these win after win after win after win. And I'm like, wow, am I even going to be able to have that many fights? I just lost my second professional fights. Am I even going to be able to get there, to where he has these many fights? And I remember the talk with him and where he's just like, you know what? You just take it one fight at a time. One fight at a time. Just worry about that next fight. And I started doing that. And then all of a sudden, I look back to where I'm fighting the Ultimate Fighter finale, and they call out my record, and it's 5-1. I'm like, damn, I got 4 more wins already, And then I'm fighting for the title, and they're like, oh, he's 15-1. I'm like, whoa, I got 16 fights, to where now I'm, I think 17-1, something like that, to where I didn't even. All of a sudden, I got 18 fights. So that's not, legacy and all of this. That's not something that I worry about. I worry about the next fight in front of me. So when I'm said and done with my career and I put it on the shelf, everyone can look back and say, wow, he did all of this. And that's, that's something that people and the fans and everyone bestow upon you, is that legacy and that greatest of all time status and things like that.
Is UFC the only, I would guess, say, mixed martial arts arena where, look, everybody at some point is going to lose, but that's not going to determine your impact on either your weight class or in the sport? Because we've seen a lot of guys that we consider great, and they got a number of L's, behind that name, but we don't think anything of it because it's UFC.
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's the one thing about this that makes it so different from everything else is that this is a fight. Mm-hmm. If you look at those other sports, they're a form of martial arts. Boxing is just one art. Boxing is really an art. It's a martial art form. It's not a fight. Of course, it's a form of fighting, but it's one art. So this is actually a fight. You get into a street fight down the street. Guess what? You don't know, that dude might kick you. That dude, he's gonna grab you. 60%. Let's think about it. There's 3 positions a fight could be. You can both be standing up punching each other. He could be on top of you punching you, or you could be on top of him punching him. 67% of that is on the ground. And so boxing doesn't do that. Right. Taekwondo doesn't do that. Karate doesn't do that. So this is a fight. This is the closest and the most intimate thing that you can get to, when it comes to hand-to-hand combat. And so it's so much bigger than just that fight. It's just you go out there and you lose one, but how do you rebound from that? What life lessons do you learn from that loss? What does that loss teach you? How do you impact, how do you motivate others with how you're able to rebound and how you're able to take that loss and how you're able to come back? And so I wouldn't say this is the only sport, but it's clear to see why this is on the short list for that.
Well, Kamaru Usman is going to be facing Gilbert Burns, UFC 258. Buy it on pay-per-view this Saturday, guys. It's going to be a hell of a scrap. These guys know each other well. They're two really good fighters. Kamaru's a hell of a champion. He's steamrolling through this welterweight division. So tune in this Saturday. Kamaru, thanks for the time, and we really appreciate it. We'll all be watching down here in South Florida, and we're looking forward to the show.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys.
All righty.